So Beatie, it's really wonderful having you here for our community, for the Sydney Jewish community, to listen to you. You were with the community a few months ago. You worked for some of the schools, and as a runner myself, in fact, I've been called the running rabbi. I also enjoy.
Oh, I like that.
I run half marathon distances. I'm not quite at the full distance yet. For me, a quick half is my goal. So I think we share that passion. But you are an elite Israeli marathon runner. You are all on track for the 2020 Olympic Games, and then that's now obviously been pushed off. I want to ask you a question on that later as well, about that. You're a mother of 5, you're an observant Jew, and just an incredible person, inspiration. So I thought you'd be very good to interview, to give us a perspective during these difficult times for many around the world. You obviously have to overcome all sorts of difficulty, all sorts of challenges, need strong mental grit and mental health, and a strong perspective. So maybe to start off, can you just tell us, like, how did you get into running? What does running do for you? Give us a little bit of your background, your story. Everyone listening.
Yeah, I just got into running because I was really tired of being out of shape after having 4 kids in 6 years, and realizing that I was like, I had totally lost like a part of myself. I didn't actually, I just really, like, I had fallen out of shape, and I used to be super active and loved sports and was like, I'm naturally athletic, and like, that is when I started running, just because, with the goal of getting fit again. And most people choose like a 5 or 10K or half marathon to sign up for, and I chose the distance of a marathon. I told my husband, like, that's it, I'm running a marathon. And people say to me, like, wow, that's such an extreme goal. But the like biggest thing that I wanted in my life at the time was consistency, to be like one of those people that get out the door 4 times a week and go for a run. And nothing was working for myself to get into like a consistent pattern of exercise. So I knew that, like, if I'd pick even any other goal, like a shorter distance, it wouldn't have obligated me to train in the same way. I could have showed up and winged it. I can run. But the marathon, like, no one shows up to the start line of a marathon without training for it. So that basically forced me to commit and get into action. And it was the best decision of my life. Like, I spent 4 months training for it. And like I said, I didn't realize how badly I needed that in my life. And so much more than physical health was the mental side. And like, as I've continued to train, I've learned more and more how much running has like changed me mentally as a person and as a human being. But then right when I started, it just helps me be a better mom, a better wife. Like, I needed the time to myself so badly, and I had been like depriving myself of it for so long, which is why I'm really passionate about encouraging moms and women to make time for themselves and move and exercise. And I always say about running, though, like, when you start before you go on your run, like, you could feel so unmotivated, lethargic, tired, whatever. Like, it could be so hard to get yourself out the door. But I have never met a person who like comes back from the run feeling worse than when they started. You will always feel better after. So I say, like, the trick is just getting out the door. And once you do that, like, it can only get better,
So it's like
that's how
just take that first step, right?
Yeah, it's just about the first step. It's really, really, for me, it was life-changing. And I never imagined that it would evolve into me. Like, I didn't start running with a goal of trying to be a professional runner, qualify for the Olympics, no time goal for the marathon. And when I ran my first marathon in 3 hours and 27 minutes, which only because my husband encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone and shoot for a time goal, that made me see that I was like good at running. And then I continued, I started getting a little more into it. I ran a marathon the following year, 7 months pregnant. And then I set a goal to win the Jerusalem Marathon, but like it evolved, and which has also made me realize, like, don't underestimate yourself for what you're capable of. And like, if you do have something you want to accomplish, like, put that big goal out there and go for it, even if it's going to take 10 years, because like, if you don't give yourself the shot, you'll never know if you can get there. And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? It won't exactly happen the way you want it, or won't work, but like, you have to try, you know? So now now I set huge goals for myself, and like, it's okay when they don't always happen exactly right on time. I think I'm patient, you know, I'll get there.
I just to jump in there. So the first marathon, you had what, 4 months of training, which is not very much, and you did a whole marathon. And then the following year you ran 7 months pregnant. That's just astounding. That's incredible. But what I want to ask you is just based on that, the question just came to my mind is I mean, did you get into running because you did the first one and saw that actually I'm natural at it, like I'm really good at it? Is that kind of what got you into running professionally? Because you saw you had that mixture of, yes, you were passionate, but you had that raw skill, that brilliant skill. Is it a combination that kind of made you think, I have the natural ability, I do enjoy it, and so I'm going to pursue it?
Well, even after my first marathon, I had no idea that I would ever get more serious about it. Like, 3:27 is a decent time, but and it's good. I saw that I was good at running, but like, it was never on my radar that I'd be doing it professionally. I didn't realize that until, I've only been training, you know, professionally for a year and a half. And I only realized that was a possibility when I won the Israel National Championship Marathon in January 2018, which was like, in that race, I totally blew like my expectations out of the water. I cut 6 minutes off my time in the second half of the marathon. And it was also a complete like nace. It was a miracle. I believe Hashem completely guided me onto this path. And, you know, like I didn't, it wasn't like I had this aha moment, like, yeah, I'm gonna go out and be a professional runner. I just continued. I started running. I just loved it, and it's such a great way to exercise, and doesn't require a lot. Like, I also say, why did I choose running? I didn't have any money to invest in anything. I didn't have a treadmill. I didn't have a gym. I didn't belong to a gym. Like, you don't need anything to run. You just need like your desire and your 2 feet, you know, and you go out there, and you can explore everywhere that way, and it's so amazing. So that's why I was like pursuing it. It just made me feel so good and gave me so much energy.
Beautiful. I can totally relate to that, because I know for me as a rabbi, you know, and in the work that I do, where you're constantly on call, constantly on the go, constantly trying to come up with ideas and write speeches, and come up with inspiring messages and be there for people. It's very full on. So for me, when I go out for my run, I try and run maybe 5 times a week. Maybe now during COVID, 6 times. But for me, it's like that 1 hour or 2 hours. When I get out there, I put my earphones on and I listen to a shiur, I listen to a podcast, or sometimes just a little bit of music, and it's me time. So it's time to nourish myself and my soul, and you know, clear my head. And sometimes for me, like, the best ideas and drashot and sermons like actually come to me on my run, as I'm out there on the cliffs of Sydney, running from where I live in Maroubra all the way to Bondi and back. It's just, so I totally get it, you know, getting out there with your own 2 feet, and that's how you inspire yourself. And I've got the bug too. Maybe
it's definitely the best thinking time. It's great thinking time, meditation.
Maybe I'm saying maybe I'll see you in Israel at a marathon one day.
Well, my goal is Australia is 100% on my bucket list. I know it's so far. I don't know if I could ever convince, like, I get sponsored by Israel to go to different races. Like, Australia is pretty far, but maybe I'll convince them to do like the Sydney Marathon. I don't know.
Amazing.
Is there a Sydney Marathon?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course there is. Definitely. And I can help you. I can help you arrange that.
Once Corona's all gone, I'll be there.
Fantastic. And let me ask you, my next question to you is, about, you know, overcoming difficult situations and challenges. And when you have certain things in your mind, like you're training towards the 2020 Olympic Games, and then suddenly, you know, COVID happens, and that's now pushed off to 2021. And I remember the story last year that your race was going to fall on Shabbat, on Saturday, and so you came out strong, and obviously you can't compete if that's the case. Well, what's it looking like next year? Do you know what day it's going to fall out? And also, how did you overcome that, like, for yourself, when things don't go according to plan? How do you deal with that?
As far as next year, it's not 100% clear, but they are kind of saying that they're pretty much gonna like copy paste the schedule, and so unfortunately it looks very likely that the marathon is going to be on Shabbat again. I'm not giving up. I have a year to work on seeing if there is any flexibility with that, so I'm not giving up yet. In terms of difficult, like when you face difficult things, and like I talk about it because everyone faces struggles and setbacks and challenges, and like you don't get where you want to get without encountering those obstacles. So I'm a huge believer in like positive thinking, and that like we always have two options when we face those challenging moments. Like you either have that immediate negative reaction, like, oh my gosh, everything's falling apart, all my plans are going out the window, like there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this. And like if you start letting those negative voices in, you will notice how quickly you spiral from like being maybe okay to being completely like not okay in 1 second, because like it's just this cyclical reaction. But if you choose to like say, I'm going to be optimistic, I'm going to focus on the positive, like you will be 100% guaranteed to feel better. And even if it takes longer than you want or it doesn't work out, you'll still come out stronger because you'll have changed as a person from it, and you'll have learned to face, you know, to be more positive in your life. So like I think that people talk about like, how do you have the mindset of a champion? I think it's something you have to cultivate, you have to work on, and you practice it in the moments every day of your life by becoming a person who is positive and grateful. Like I wake up and I look for all the good things every single day. So like I'm training my mind to constantly seeing the positive to a point that it just becomes so automatic and natural. And the same thing, I talk about faith a lot, like emunah, like our faith, it's a muscle that you flex, and it gets stronger when you can go through a difficult time and say, you know what, this is hard for me, I don't know why this is happening, but I 100% trust that this is part of God's plan for me. I know he's doing exactly what I need right now. This is going to help me develop into the person I need to be. The first time you say it, it's so hard to accept those things. Like I used to be a person that like when things didn't work out, I'm almost on this interview. When things didn't work out my way, I was just like, I would be so upset. It would take me days to get over it. Now I can like laugh it off. I can just accept it with serenity. And that's because I worked on that, flexing that muscle of emunah. And the same way your core gets stronger every time you do 20 crunches, your faith gets stronger every time you go through a challenge and you say, I accept that this is part of God's plan for me. So that's how I handle the setbacks. Are you ready for
Beautiful, beautiful. And you know, on the Facebook feed here, you know, the people are commenting. I want to say hi to all those people who are commenting as well. Your attitude determines your altitude. I think there's a lot to that as well. But let me just finally ask you. Obviously, you know, running in a skirt and a tichel as well. You know, did you get some strange looks in the beginning, and then when you ended up winning these races, did those looks just turn from like, oh my gosh to like, wow, this is amazing. Actually, this is quite inspiring. Like, how's that?
Yeah, I think some people like a little bit surprised to see like a woman in a skirt up there running fast, and at this point it's like pretty, now everyone in Israel, like in the running scene, knows who I am. For me, it's actually, I would say it's gotten, and I never questioned wearing a skirt because it's something I do my whole life. It's natural, it's normal, it's who I am. But in certain way, it's maybe gotten harder because the more serious I get about my training, the more I realize how much my clothing really does make a difference. And like, you know, I'm desperate to like cut my 5K time and like to qualify for the standard of the Olympics, I need to run a 2:29:30 in the marathon, and every second counts. And like, I know that if I'd be running in, you know, my shorts and a tank top, like I'd be a lot less. But so I always tell myself I'm really doing this for like the goal of being a, you know, Novel, can you be quiet for 1 minute? I will open it. Sorry. Here, I'm going to open it. To bring God, you know, to bring more of God's light into the world. So it's absolutely not something I even question. And wearing ultimately reminds me that my strength not own it from God. He gave me this gift. It keeps me humble, you know. I don't understand it, and it's hard. I think that's okay. You don't have to always understand every aspect of a mitzvah that you keep. You can do it and know you're doing it for God, and that's what matters. So that's what I do with my clothes.
That's beautiful. Really beautiful. So well said. That's really lovely. And lastly, what's the final message for everyone, you know, who is watching and who will watch this? What's one final thing that we can have in our minds to keep us hopeful every morning when we wake up? What should we be thinking to ourselves, telling ourselves to stay positive?
Recently I've been really passionate just about sharing the message to treat everyone with love and kindness. Like, I think the world right now needs more, needs more love, acceptance, no more judgment, you know, like, besides for Corona being so challenging in so many ways, I think it's really important in ways like the politics of it and the no mask, like, we have to remember to just, like, the reason we're still in exile today really is because of our lack of love. And like, the more that we could work on loving everyone, our fellow humans, and seeing the similarities we all have so much in common. The core, every single one of us at our core is a Tzelem Elokim, a divine piece of God. Connect to that, and like, the world's going to be a better place. So that's my message.
Beautiful. Well, Beatie, I know you have to go, but thank you so much for your time and for your incredible story. We wish you all the very best here in Sydney. We'll be rooting for you. We're on your team. And
I hope I make it.
Yeah, and we hope to have you for the marathon here in Sydney one day. But may Hashem be with you. The force is with you, and may you fly like the wind and have incredible success. Keep up your great work. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Guys.